Welcome back, class 7. With you, I was doing the first lesson in civics, that is our constitution. And after explaining you how the constitution was made and all, I told you the meaning of the word preamble. So what is preamble? Preamble is the introduction to the constitution. And I will send this to you on WhatsApp, but I will read this out. We have done the first 4 lines of the preamble. Okay. So we the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic and republic, and to secure to all its citizens. Till here I have explained you the meaning of this word called preamble, which is the introduction to the constitution. Now today we are going to do justice, and we are going to do liberty, we are going to do equality and fraternity. There are 4 more words which come up in the preamble. These are also called as the aims of the constitution. Alright, these are called as the aims of the constitution or the objectives of the constitution. Alright, so which are the words? Justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. Alright, so the Constitution of India aims, or its final objective is to give justice, liberty, equality and fraternity to every Indian citizen. Now let us see one by one what is the meaning of these 4 words. For example, the first word is justice. So justice means we all understand if there is something that we've committed, something which is not right, so we have to go to the court, and the lawyers there or the judges there, they pass on the judgment. So this is not only this could be political, this could be social, and this is also economic justice. Now what is the meaning of political justice? That all citizens of the country can give the vote to whichever party they think is correct. Alright, which comes under universal adult franchise. That means when you are 18 years of age, you have the political right, you have the political justice has been given to every Indian citizen, that you can vote for your political party who you think will take the country forward. Alright, that's political justice. It does not matter whether you are rich or you're poor, or you might belong to any place, but everybody has that right. Social justice implies that all the citizens are equal in the eyes of the law. You commit a crime in Jammu Kashmir, in Andaman, in Rajasthan, in Madhya Pradesh, but if you have done something which is wrong, you will be taken to task. You might be rich, you might be poor, you might belong to a political family, but you cannot escape the law. Okay, so everybody is equal in the eyes of the law. Not that for a rich man the laws will be different and for a poor man the laws will be different. For one community the laws will be different, and for some other community the laws will be different. The law is equal for everyone. Alright, now economic justice means it means that the money is the constitution will try and see that the rich are not getting richer and richer and richer, and the poor are not getting poorer and poorer and poorer. So the constitution will see to it that they make the policies in such a way that even the poor are benefited. If somebody starts an industry, okay, it could be an iron industry, it could be a plastic making industry, it could be a paper industry. So it has to be seen, the government makes policies in such a way that it sees that more and more people get the employment. So that economic justice, economic means something to do with money. It is distributed to all the people. Alright, not that only the rich have opened the industry and they get the benefit out of it and the poor remain poor. And economic justice also means that if I have the resources, if I have the capital, if I have the the knack of doing business, nobody will ask. I mean, there is no law as such that I can't do. Anyone whosoever is an Indian citizen can have a economic setup in the country. All right. So employment and opportunities are given to one and all. So that was the meaning of the word justice. Now we come to the word liberty. Liberty means every citizen of India, it does not matter to which faith, it does not matter to which gender, it does not matter to which economic background, whether rich or poor, or to which community, or to which geographical location, it does not matter, but the citizens will have some fundamental rights. These fundamental rights are the basic rights of every citizen. You might be a beggar, you might be a multi-millionaire, but all of us have these fundamental rights. Okay, and one of these fundamental rights is that I have the right to vote. I have the right to think and express what is right and what is wrong. Okay, and I have the right to worship any god or goddesses that I want to. I have the right to express myself. For example, you know what the media does, all right? The news channel, they have the right to express themselves, but we need to remember, not at the cost of hurting other people. All right, so that was liberty. Now we come to equality. In a democracy, all are equal before law and there is no discrimination on the basis of caste, creed, color, gender, religion, economic status. Equality is ensured by providing equal opportunities to all-round development. All the citizens of India are treated equally before law and are ensured equal protection. All right. So equality means everybody will be treated fairly. Not that a male will get a job in a company and a female will not get the same job in a company. If a female has better education qualifications, it will not mean that there will be discrimination on the basis of your gender. All right, it could be anything. The person who has the best qualifications will get the job. All right, so that means equality is given. All right, it will not that you are a girl so you will not get this job and you are a boy so you will get this job. Okay. Fraternity. Now fraternity means a spirit of brotherhood. The constitution is made in such a manner that it will always encourage peace and brotherhood in the country. It will not side by one religious group, one community, one gender, that okay, it is a male dominated society, so all the laws and policies are better for the males and are not good for the females. It will be equal. All right, so fraternity means a democracy in the spirit of brotherhood, and the constitution encourages all the Indians to treat their fellow beings in the spirit of brotherhood. Don't treat each other that you belong to Assam or I belong to Bengal and I belong to Rajasthan and you belong to Punjab, but we all are basically Indians. All right, that's how we should be treating each other. Now this I have explained the objectives of the constitution. There were 4 things that I explained: justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. Now we come to the salient features of the constitution. Salient features would mean things which, for example, there are 10 things in it. We will only be doing 5 of it today. Okay, for example, written constitution. The following are the salient features of the constitution. Salient means which we don't actually pay too much attention to. All right. So written constitution. Unlike the Constitution of Great Britain, the Constitution of India is a written constitution. For example, the Constitution of United Kingdom is not written, but the Constitution of India is written in a book. All right. So it defines the structure, organization and power of the center and the state governments. And the Constitution describes what are the powers of the central government and what are the powers of the state government. All right. The lengthiest constitution, ours Indian constitution is the lengthiest because we copied it from so many places, so many countries. All right, it has 395 articles, 22 parts and 12 schedules. We don't have to go into the details of what these are. You just have to remember 395 articles, 22 parts and 12 schedules are there. All right, because we discussed it with so many countries, so we picked up all the good points of whatever we like from different countries. Now there is a point, very important point called single citizenship. All right, single citizenship means that I am an Indian, so I have only one passport. Not that my passport for Assam will be different, there will be another passport for Rajasthan and there will be another one for Tamil Nadu, not like that. Or if I am from Tamil Nadu, so I can't go to Assam or I can't go to Jammu and Kashmir. No, we have a single citizenship. All of us are Indians and all of us have only one single citizenship. For example, in USA, that's not the case. It has so many different states and every state has its own citizenship. But in India, the whole country has only one single citizenship. All right. It doesn't matter in which state you are residing, you are just an Indian citizen. Okay, now another word comes here is parliamentary government. Parliamentary government means, do we know what is a parliament? Parliament is Sansad Bhavan. It is in New Delhi. So what happens in a parliament? It is headed by the Prime Minister. And then the Prime Minister has its cabinet of ministers. All right, that's the central government. And the parliamentary government is a government which is chosen by the people and for the people. The people choose the ministers, and the ministers of a party who win, they choose their leader whom they appoint as the Prime Minister of the country. All right. So parliamentary form of government is a form of government which is chosen by the people themselves. All right. And the government has got three organs or three wings or three branches: the legislative, the executive and the judiciary. Legislative is the one which makes the laws, which makes the policies. Executive is the one which implements those policies. Implements का मतलब उसको practically उसको लाती है. जो इन्होंने legislative वालों ने बना दिया है, उनको executive वाले practically करते हैं. Legislative वाले होते हैं ministers जो policies बनाते हैं, और executive वाले होते हैं IAS officers, PCS officers जो और DM आपका हो गया, ये इन पॉलिसीज़ को लेके आते हैं, इम्प्लीमेंट करते हैं. एंड द थर्ड वन इज़ योर जुडिशरी. इफ़ देर इज़ अ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट बिटवीन पीपल, बिटवीन समबडी, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट मीन्स झगड़ा. ओके, वो झगड़ा कई बार सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट एंड स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के बीच में भी हो सकता है, दो स्टेट्स के बीच में भी हो सकता है. ठीक है, तो अगर वो कोई झगड़ा होता है, कॉमन लोगों के बीच में जो झगड़ा होता है, ठीक है, कई बार कोई क्रिमिनल चार्जेस भी होते हैं, तो दैट इज टेकन केयर बाय द जुडिशरी. एंड ऑल दीज थ्री ब्रांचेस ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट आर सेपरेट फ्रॉम ईच अदर. ओके, द जजेस ऑफ द सुप्रीम कोर्ट हैव गॉट नथिंग टू फियर फ्रॉम द मिनिस्टर्स हु आर सिटिंग इन द फर्स्ट branch, that is the legislative. The legislatives have got no fear of the executive. The executives are free of the legislatives. All three are independent bodies. All right. So that was the parliamentary form of government. Now we have another word here, federal government. Federal means, although I told you we have a parliamentary form of government, that means you have a central government which is headed by the Prime Minister and its cabinet of ministers, but you also have state governments. You have the chief minister and his cabinet of ministers and his governor. All right, president, prime minister and his cabinet of ministers, chief minister, governor and his cabinet of ministers. So all the states that we have, 29 states, we have the different chief ministers come together with the central government, and they kind of interlink their things and they work together. So the central government is more powerful than the state government, but the state government also needs help from the central government, and the central government cannot do everything on its own, so it has appointed the state governments. All right. States have control over their own affairs but are controlled by the central government for national decisions. For example, a state can have control over its education policy. A state can have control over its medical policies, and a state can also have control over its law and order. But there are certain things, for example, the protection of the whole country, that is not given to the states. That's the power only of the central government. That's the area of only the central government. For example, nuclear power plants, those also are only with the central government. That department of doing and making policies for certain things is only with the central government, and certain things only the states can do. But if the central government is not happy with it, then the state government has to follow the orders of the central government. All right. So that was the federal form of government that India has. Now, instead of waiting for another day, I thought we'll do 5. I think I will also complete the other 5 salient features of the Constitution. What are we doing? Salient features of the Constitution. And we have done written Constitution, we have done the lengthiest Constitution, we have done single citizenship, parliamentary government, federal government. Now we will be doing unitary government. Our Constitution is unitary in spirit. Unitary, by the word unitary means unit. It is a single unit. Although it has got these 29 states, but it is still one single unit. India is one single country. India is not 29 countries. All right. It's not different. All those states are not different from each other. It means that as a country, India is one unit. Some of the provisions which makes the Constitution unitary in spirit include: how do we become one unit? When the central government is strong. And we also follow one single constitution. Not that the constitution for Kerala is different and the constitution for Gujarat is different and the constitution for Mizoram is different. The constitution for the whole of India is same. All right. We all have a single citizenship. Not that I will say that I am a citizen of Assam and I am a citizen of Mumbai. Not like that. We all are Indian citizens. Existence of union territories. Now we also have union territories which also come under the president looks after the union territories. Single unified judicial system. Our judicial system, that means our courts and our laws and our lawyers and our judges will give the same kind of a sentence, or a same kind. By sentence I mean, if somebody is produced before the court and that somebody has done something, then the same kind of justice will be given to him what is right by law. Not that for one person the law will be this and for the other person the law will be that. For all people who have done one certain thing, the law will be the same. Now we also have common all India services. All right, we have all these examinations now which are all India examinations. So all India examinations are what? It makes us a unit. All right, everybody from north, south, east, west, central India have to go through these examinations. Now we have one more heading, which is independent judiciary. I explained this to you earlier also. The judiciary is independent from the executive and from the legislative. Judiciary, the judges of the Supreme Court and the High Courts are appointed by the President of India, not by the Prime Minister of India. Okay, the President of India appoints the judges of the Supreme Court and that of the High Courts. And there is a different process. It's not only the President who appoints them. There are other people who are part of the court of the Supreme Court and the High Court who decide. Okay, so Prime Minister, who is in the central government, has got no say in appointing these people. So that's how judiciary is independent of whom? Of the central government. Alright. The judges cannot be normally terminated from their office till their retirement. And these judges, judges of the High Court or the Supreme Court, they cannot be terminated. Not that I am the Prime Minister of India and I don't like a certain judge and I terminate him. I can't do so. Nobody can do so. They cannot be terminated. Terminated means taken out of their job. Okay, till the time they retire. But if they've done something which is against the country, then they have to step down from their position and then an inquiry is held. Not that they are the judges so they can do anything. The Supreme Court has the power of judicial review. That is, it can declare any law of the centre or the state legislature as unconstitutional. See, I told you the state government and the central government can make their own laws. They can decide on how they want to govern their states or how they want to govern a particular area. Alright, but if the Supreme Court feels that the state government or the central government is doing something which is not a part of the constitution, which is unethical, which is unconstitutional, then it can come in between, and Supreme Court is the highest order. Not the central government, not the state government. Whatever the Supreme Court says has to be followed by everyone. Alright. Now we come to one more heading, which is fundamental rights and duties. Although we have explained this a little bit, but then we'll do it. The Constitution of India guarantees certain basic freedom to all its citizens. What do you mean by fundamental right? A little basic freedom. These freedoms are called fundamental rights. The central or the state governments cannot take away or change these rights. Neither the central government nor the state government can take away these fundamental rights which are mine because I am an Indian citizen. Alright? Not that a kind of a government comes and says, okay, these people are not allowed to vote or these people are not allowed to go to that place. That cannot be done. Okay, those are my rights and because I am a citizen of this country. All these rights are justiciable. That is, a person can appeal in the High Court or the Supreme Court if any of his fundamental rights are violated. For example, right to equality, right of freedom of speech, of residence. I can live in any part of the country. Okay, I can profess any religion that I want to. I can participate in any cultural activity. So these are the fundamental rights that I have. Okay. Now universal adult franchise also I had explained. When you become 18 years of age and above, you have the right to vote. One person, one vote. Okay. So that's and it irrespective, not that you're a girl so you can't vote and you're a boy so you can vote twice. Not like one person votes once. Okay. It's not dependent on the place of birth or economic status or your religion or your the area that you belong to. Now we come to the last salient features of the Constitution, which is directive principles of state policy. Now directive, the word directive comes from the word direction, and direction का मतलब क्या होता है? दिशा. ठीक है, और दिशा का मतलब क्या होता है? दिशा का मतलब होता है नॉर्थ जाना है, साउथ जाना है, ईस्ट जाना है, वेस्ट जाना है. कहाँ जाना है? जाना क्या है? अब यहाँ पे it doesn't mean that you need to go somewhere, but directive principles of state policy means these are some principles which have been written that towards the end, which we will study in the coming chapter, which would tell the government that this is the direction we want our country to go in. Alright, this is the direction. फॉर एग्जाम्पल गांधीयन प्रिंसिपल्स भी जो होते हैं वो डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स के अंडर आते हैं. ऐसे बहुत सारे प्रिंसिपल्स हैं विच वी विल रीड इन द नेक्स्ट चैप्टर. सो डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स फॉर दिस लेसन यू जस्ट हैव टू रिमेंबर दे गिव अ डायरेक्शन टू द गवर्नमेंट दैट दिस इज हाउ यू शुड गवर्न द country. Okay, and both the central and the state governments have to pay attention to these directive principles while they make the laws. When they are making some new laws or they're implementing policies, so they have to keep these principles in their mind. They have to think that this is the directive principle, so that's why I can make this law, or that's why we cannot make this law because the directive principle says so. Alright. So this finishes your this lesson, which is our constitution. Class 7 children, if you go through the civics now till class 10, you will become so perfect that you would be able to answer all questions, and civics would carry lots of weightage for your board examination. Alright, history has a lot many chapters, but civics has less chapters and the weightage is almost the same, not much of a difference. Okay, now I will click picture through the WhatsApp and I will tell you which questions you need to do. Alright, I will also send you the picture of the preamble, so please write it, read it, try to learn it, and every word that is there you need to know the meaning of those words which I have explained. So listen to the video again and again. Alright, thank you.